morning, everyone, and welcome to Great Day Houston. I want to say hello to our live studio audience this morning. They are a group with Justice for Children. Thank you all for coming in. And we'll talk to them a little bit later on about what their purpose is. Okay, if you pledge to eat healthy and exercise, but you're having a hard time sticking to that plan, our first guest is a great inspiration. LaJaunie used to weigh 420 pounds. A few years later, he dropped hundreds of pounds and was featured on the cover of Runner's World magazine. So how did he do it without surgery or a crazy restrictive diet? Let's find out. Good morning, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Wow. You are smiling from ear to ear, and something tells me you're a happy person anyway, but every time you hear that, the accomplishment that you made, it's got to make you feel great.
It does. And it doesn't mean that there haven't been ugly, hard times along the way. It just makes you feel proud for having made it through and gotten to where we are today.
Yeah, and those ugly times are really what make you even happier, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's back it all up, because a lot of us, if we have an issue with food, can kind of go back to childhood. First off, you're from Louisiana. Let's just go ahead and establish that right now. There's great food in Louisiana.
Yes.
But it was also something that your family used as rewards and you celebrated with, like many families.
Of course. I mean, and it was like in identity for our family. My grandfather was known for his crawfish recipe and for his gumbo recipe and his ability to cook for big groups of people, right? So it was all of those things. It was things we did when we were happy. It was things we did when we were sad. It was things we did to, celebrate and get people together.
Yeah.
And so.
Were you an overweight child?
I wasn't terribly overweight as a small child. Like in kindergarten, I was a beanpole actually.
Yeah.
But as I began to get into organized sports, especially football,
what position?
I played on the offensive line.
So
well, either
to be a big
side.
boy.
So I wanted to be a big guy, So I started to really identify with being big, like the rest of the men in my family and the people around me and the football players that I saw.
But you kind of had youth on your side at that time,
right? Exactly.
And being an athlete.
Right.
But then you had an injury, and that sends a lot of people into a tailspin.
Yeah, it did. I played football all the way through until I got a scholarship, and I had an injury in my lower back that I still deal with today, actually. But as football left my life, boy, the pounds crept up. I all of a sudden I didn't have all of that extra calorie demand.
Yeah. And you weren't burning those calories.
I wasn't. No. But I was. And on top of that, I was salving a lot of the feelings I was having with food. And so over, I would fluctuate up and down, but over the next few, years of my life, I put on a lot of weight, really sort of relegating myself to being a has-been football player who's now fat and injured.
At about what weight or what point did you realize, wait a minute, this is a problem. I'm going to have to dial this back?
I was actually going back to school and at this point in my life, I was 32 years old, and I was going back to school at Nicholls State University in Thibodaux. I'm a very proud alum. And things were changing. I was starting to educate myself, not just in what my degree required me to read, but I was becoming more pragmatic. And I wanted to lose weight in 2011 so I would look better in a suit on graduation day, basically.
What did a typical meal look like for you, or what was your day like when you're eating at your heaviest weight?
At my heaviest, it was a lot of, fried things at the gas station as I would pop in, and maybe it might be boudin balls or fried livers or fried
Louisiana, the gas station has boudin balls, and fried liver and gizzards, chicken gizzards.
Yes,
oh, wow.
All of it. So that would be how I would eat as I moved around throughout my day, but I couldn't wait to get on a Friday or a Saturday evening and have a big steak with a whole bottle of wine and some, cream potatoes, the normal thing that you feel like you're indulging because you worked really hard and you deserve it.
At what point did you get on the scale and realize that you were tipping it at 420?
When it said error, well, here's the first thing. It said error. Before I ever saw before I ever saw the big number, it said error. I knew there was an issue when I step on a scale that's made for human beings, and the number didn't pop up. It said, hey, this must not be a human.
Doesn't go this high.
Right, it don't go that high.
Wow. Okay, how'd that make you feel?
Fat and ashamed. because I felt smarter than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, a lot of times when people are in that moment, you can go one way or the other.
Yes.
You go back to food
I've
to
been
take
both
care of the
ways.
to take care of the depression
Yes.
and to take care of the shame.
Yes.
But what was the moment where you said, okay, I can do something about this. I'm going to. And what was the first thing you decided to do? Because there are options today. There are gastric bypass surgeries today.
Sure.
Drastic diets, all types of things. But what was it that you decided to first do?
Go back to the gym. That was the first thing, and it was a buddy of mine who initiated that. Right.
Yeah.
The universe is brilliant.
Yeah.
I just got a phone call. It just happened for me that way. My buddy said, hey, I'm joining the gym. You want to go? So it was just going back to the gym, getting on the bench press and doing all of the old stuff again.
Yeah.
I've grown many iterations from that initial
That
thing I
moment.
was doing. But that's where it all started.
I have a friend who's battled weight all her life. We've known each other since 7th grade.
Right.
And she can't bring herself to walk into a gym. She says she
I
feels like
know.
everybody will look at her.
I get it.
And really, it's interesting because I have another friend who walked in at 300 and something pounds.
Right.
And when she walked into the gym, everyone cheered her on.
Yeah.
Because we see all of ourselves in everybody,
Well, community
right?
is everything. And
Yeah.
every place has its own little micro community,
Yeah.
right?
What's your
And
best
that
advice to
matters.
somebody who's saying, I can't walk into a gym?
You either maybe find the right gym, or I'll tell you what I used to do, and it's a burden,
Yeah.
but I woke up extra early, and I would be at the gym at 4:15 in the morning because I knew it was just me and my workout partner and maybe a couple other old dudes in there.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, and then at the base, I have a friend, Samir Becich, who's a brilliant guy. He says, you know what, the gym is really in you.
Yeah, it is.
And that gym goes anywhere you want to go. It could stay at home and work out. It can go anywhere and work out.
My favorite, go for a walk,
Yeah,
please.
go for move.
On purpose.
Right? Okay, go for a
Regularly.
walk on purpose. I love it.
Regularly.
Not because you had to go to the
Yes,
refrigerator to get
exactly,
something. You're going on purpose.
exactly.
Okay. You have lost like 80 pounds at least 3 times in your life. And you lose it and you feel great. And then all of a sudden, what tips you off to going back to the old ways?
Reaching a goal weight, ironically.
Yeah, that's over now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the vacation or the beach trip has passed, or the wedding has passed.
So the goal for you oftentimes was something like you mentioned,
Right.
looking good in a suit for graduation, going to the beach trip and being in some swim trunks or
Sure.
whatever. And so you speak to something really amazing, and that is that the goal should always be just to be your best health.
Yes, be your
that's
most
24/7.
authentic version of your evolved self.
Yeah.
It might sound whimsical, but it's really true, and a very, very simple place to live your life, in my opinion.
Yeah, but 3 times losing 80 pounds, so that kind of yo-yo effect.
Of course.
What inspired this last change where you said, okay, I can't go back?
Speaking to that authenticity as a human being, I really feel like bipedalism and my affinity for running that grew out of that very first Runner's World article I read on the treadmill way back in the day that said, hey, want to burn fat? You should try running.
Yeah. And also for you, looking at your family members, because you didn't get into this by yourself.
No.
You looked around, and there are family members dealing with chronic health conditions.
That's what I grew up in South Louisiana. You mentioned the food. Yes, we're known for the food, but you know what we're also known for? Chronic disease. We lead the nation. I've seen it in my very own family.
Yeah.
So it's very important for me to not only learn the things and implement them into my life, but to be a resource for people who need this information.
I say this all the time because it stuck with me. The CDC came out with a report and said you're more likely to die from family recipes than DNA.
Thank you.
So people will say, well, diabetes runs in my family.
Right.
Well, sometimes it's DNA, but
Look,
sometimes it's that the
Your
recipes are running in your family.
genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle is what pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
All
right. Making the change and staying with that change. I think sometimes where we fail is we think, I know, I'm cutting out all sugar and all carbs and I'm going to do this and do that. When you start this big, you're bound to fail.
Right.
You just did little things. And I think at 420, when you lose 20 pounds, people might not notice, but you have to notice.
Well, right. And it's going to be it took a long time to get that big. It's going to take a minute to undo it. And like my grandfather used to always tell me, like when we were talking about tackling a big job or something, the way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Oh.
This is literally.
Do they sell that at the gas station in Louisiana
elephant,
too? Right? Yeah.
But no, you get a big job done by just taking one chunk at a time, one bite at a time.
Yeah, and you started to run.
And I started to run, and then I started to not only want to use running as a weight loss hack, but I started to identify as being a runner, and I wanted to be part of the running community. And then I forgot all about the scale. all I wanted to do was, I want a faster 10K time.
Yeah, and you knew you felt better.
And I knew I felt better. And that running and my desire to be better at that is what brought me closer and closer to the way that I eat.
Yeah.
And brought me to the idea that I wanted to be optimal in my nutrition. I never wanted that before. I just wanted to not be fat.
So how did it come about, that very magazine, Runner's Magazine, that gave you inspiration? Like, you, at that point, never would have thought you would have been on the cover of.
Right.
How did that happen?
Social media is how it happened. I was on a popular ultra running, ultra marathoning podcast. And so I got some social media following after that. And there was this contest, this Runner's World contest, and they said, hey, tell us your running story. And a bunch of people on social media was like, hey, this has you written all over it, you should try. And I just threw my name in the hat and gave it a shot. And I won. Out of all of these, like, literally thousands of people, they picked me, and I'm still beside myself.
Yeah. When you see yourself on that magazine cover, do you associate yourself with that person? Because sometimes it takes time for people to figure out you're not that other person anymore.
Oh yeah, it's so weird. They like, it is different. Like, that is a whole, you could do a whole show on just how I feel inside myself, inside my head about myself, and how I look and all those
and how you caught up
things.
to the fact that you're a different type of fat today. You're PHAT, pretty hot and tempting.
But to be completely blunt and vulnerable here, I still feel fat often, and I want people to understand that it's not like you're not gonna get to some magical there.
Right.
You're constantly dealing with ugly parts of what life presents.
Well, and it's not all about aesthetics.
Right.
And I think we have to separate this, because in this society, we keep putting the emphasis on aesthetics, like be thin at any cost. It's not at any cost. Your body's going to have revenge on you if you do it at any cost.
Let's let that be an outcome.
Yeah.
Let's let that be a result of living a really true, authentic existence.
Do the right thing, your body will follow.
Then, you will be paid in dividends.
How many pounds did you lose altogether?
230 pounds total.
You've been such an inspiration to others, and sometimes I oftentimes say you don't pick a cause can pick you.
Yeah,
this cause has picked you.
Yes, it
What
has.
have you heard from other people that even keep you sticking to your goals, when people can come up and say what kind of inspiration you've been to them?
Hey, I'm off of my insulin. I reversed my type 2 diabetes. I've lost 100 pounds because I heard about you.
Wow.
I want to stick around for my grandkids. And I think, like, the lessons you taught your mom are going to help me do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? That's so huge. It's just, I don't even know how to put it into words, like, the feeling that you get from that. And all I've done is, like, tried to make me better. And these other beautiful serendipitous things have happened in my life along the way.
You have your ebook, Sick to Fit.
Yes, that is a free Kindle download. I wanted to make sure that there was a free option for anyone who wants that information, because you don't need me to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Everything you need to know is right there in that book, and you can have it for free.
Tell us about WellStart Health.
WellStart Health is a way that that I've been able to, with my partner Howard Jacobson, take a lot of the hard-fought, hard-learned lessons of my transition and put them into a really smartly laid out sort of curriculum.
Yeah.
That
people can actually follow,
some
right?
actionables.
Yeah.
And Howard has just done a beautiful job of putting this 12-week program together, where we sort of take people through the basics of movement and mindset and menu, and teach them just, real on a surface level what some of the latest science is on what we should be eating and how we should be moving.
And you don't have to deprive yourself. Like,
no, you don't have
you can really get through Mardi Gras eating all the great food.
I can't wait
just
for
leave
Mardi
some of the
Gras.
creams and stuff
I have
off,
new
right?
traditions. I can't wait for Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
I run the parade routes now. Like, because the streets are closed off, and it's like, it's beautiful to go watch people setting up, and I'm running my, so you can still enjoy, but it's about manipulating everything to what you want.
Right.
to the,
and what you want the outcome to
outcomes
be.
you want.
Yeah.
Correct.
We love you.
I love you.
We love you. Oh my gosh, Josh, it's funny, we were talking about your name is LaJaunie, is how you pronounce it.
LaJaunie.
But whenever you're around French people, they go, Mr. LaJaunie.
Yes,
Yes,
I have
yes.
some actual French friends who say LaJaunie, and I don't correct them.
All right, well, merci beaucoup, and thank you for coming out here today and inspiring us. For
Thank
more
you for having
information
me.
on Josh or WellStart Health, you can log on to our site, greatdayhouston.com.